Let's see if I can manage to keep this video on both platforms. Okay, so I want to talk about this Texas shooting. I want to talk about the Buffalo one, but man, they don't want you talking about that. They boot your videos right away. I do just want to say one thing about that. As of today, they're now saying that an FBI agent was in a chat with that shooter. And he was one of the 20 or less people who were on that live stream, meaning that he had foreknowledge not only of his manifesto, but he also disclosed to everybody who was on his live stream the link for the live stream and the location of where he was going, which means that the FBI did not intervene. I'm bringing this up because this shit in Texas has got, it is some of the most fucked up shit I've seen. And I really, really want to put the video that I saw integrated into this one, but I just don't know what the censors will do to that. And all I could say is that I saw the parents in that school standing outside of the school while they could literally fucking hear their friends' kids, their neighbors' kids, schoolmates' kids. They could literally hear them getting fucking shot. And they're being held at bay outside the school by a fucking line of police. And they couldn't do anything. Now, first of all, those fucking cops, you know, this was a Mexican area, right? Primarily Mexican. The victims, the shooter. So maybe the fact that this was a really Mexican area and Mexicans don't yet realize that the government is not on their side, maybe they haven't figured that out yet. Maybe it would have been different if it was a different area. Because they stood there and you could hear them pleading with the fucking police. Come on, man, go in there. You gotta go in there. You gotta let us go in there. Just let me go in there. I won't even take a gun. I heard so many of them say that shit, man. It's just literally fucking heartbreaking, dude. There was like one or two people tried to go and the cops moved for them to arrest them. So I'm gonna tell you what that was, what I think. I mean, I definitely think it was part of a bigger thing to fuck with guns, but I'll tell you what I think that was, is that their perspective was the kids were already in the school, including the teachers, and the shooter was already in the school, but if they allowed anybody else to go into the school, then that was a potential lawsuit for the department or for the school, and they were trying to prevent a fucking lawsuit. That is what these fucking stockbots were doing. They were trying to prevent any potential lawsuit that would have potentially come down the road if anybody had been hurt, as I'm sure somebody fucking would have. So instead they stood out there for 40 minutes. 40 fucking minutes. And let this dude walk around the school. I don't get it. I mean, I also don't get if he had 40 full minutes relatively uninterrupted, why there weren't more victims, but still, it was a fucked up thing. And I'm going to say one thing to the benefit of the parents, for any of you out there who are like, you know, fuck it, if that was my kid, I agree. If that was my kid in my kid's school, those cops wouldn't have been able to stop me. But quite honestly, when you've got a line of police all armed, you know, like tasers, fucking handcuffs, riot cuffs, etc., etc., one person ain't rushing that line. No matter how bad you are, you're not rushing that line. You might even get through a couple, but you're never gonna get what you want. You're never gonna get all the way. You're not gonna get all the way in and be able to do anything. It's never gonna happen. What I meant before when I said that maybe because they're Mexicans and a lot of them still don't understand how the government tries to fuck you over. What I meant was, you know, this has been an area with white people. I think that there are, believe me, a lot of dumb white people, but there are enough of us that know that the government fucking hates us, that we might have said, fuck it, we got to devise a plan to get the fuck in there because they're not going to do anything. This has been an area full of black people. It's quite possible that the black people would have just rushed. Some of them getting tased, maybe even one or two of them getting shot, but for sure getting tased, some of them getting arrested. But if there was enough of them that got in there, I think that this was a little bit unique. Of course, the black perspective, in my opinion, would be that, you know, it's the police that don't like them, not the whole of the government and the feds. And that's exactly what it is. Those cops, those sheriffs were taking orders, directives handed down from this higher up, from that higher up, and even though they might be able to directly point to this is the city policy that comes from here, it really comes all the way down from the government and how the government fucking just doesn't care about people. And it's also a great propaganda piece for gun control. I mean, it's just I don't really want to talk about that because I don't want to be like so many of these other shills in these last couple of shootings who have gone out there to go pro or fucking against. I don't really want to focus on that. I want to focus on the fact that these fucking cops stood there with the back to the school, keeping an eye on the parents, preventing them from going in. I'm sure they could hear the fucking shooting too. Parents could hear it. Why wouldn't they be able to hear it? And they just stood there, weren't affected. Not one of them thought that doing something about the fucking problem was more important than their job or any potential repercussions. What fucking cowards. What fucking cowards. Interesting also is that in every shooting, we get a lot of pictures of the shooter and a lot of background info. In fact, on the last couple of ones of note that the news has picked up, not the last couple of mass shootings, because there have been plenty that the news just completely skips over because, you know, they involve a lot of black people and they don't like to talk about that. Let's be honest, all right? There were 2 in Milwaukee the day before. There was 1 in Buffalo. They didn't even call it. They didn't even call it a mass shooting. They called it a shooting with multiple casualties. They didn't even call it a mass shooting. Anyways, with the Buffalo and the one in New York, they put pictures of the shooter out there right away, and they threw some stuff together about him right away. With this shooter in Texas, nothing. I saw the USA Today the other day, and it actually had the faces of all these fucking poor kids out there. 15 Mexican kids, by the way, 2 white kids, 1 Mexican teacher. And the teacher, because this really should not be fucking forgotten or swept away, her husband, the next day, which was yesterday, actually, he died from grief. I mean, they called it a heart attack. Anxiety, heart attack, he fucking died. He actually fucking died from grief. From what happened to his wife and everybody else. But the USA Today has a story where they put a clear picture of every one of these kids with their full names. I've never seen anything like this. Front page, every one of these fucking kids and their full name. I'm not sure if they did that in Newton. Maybe they did. I don't remember it. Maybe they did, though. But what really is of note is that in this article where they show these kids, there's not one picture of the shooter. There has been an almost complete media absence of information about the shooter because, you know, I mean, if you go on Twitter, you might think the shooter was white from the way they're talking. He was not. He was Salvadorian, I believe, somewhere from Central America. He was also a tranny. Whatever the correct fucking term is, you understand what I'm saying. So they don't want to put any pictures of him up there. What kind of fucking insanity is this? $40 man. 40 fucking minutes of being held at bay by the people who are supposed to protect you. Not one of those people, regardless of the orders they may or may not have been given, regardless of the protocols of their fucking respective departments, not one of those fucking cops or fucking agents, officers, fucking sheriffs, whatever they, not fucking one said, fuck this, I'm going in there. Well, what do you think of that?
We're taking care of it. Shit, he ain't done yet. Is he dead? He's not good. Y'all should have fucking changed that motherfucker like that. Let him go. Fucking do it to him. Let him go.
¿Qué más hay disparar, güey? ¡No es shooting!
Just one more thing I want to add. What I had heard, and of course this information, information has to keep getting vetted and re-vetted and shit comes out, but what I had heard was that, because like one or two police officers did get shot, I thought one had gotten killed. One for sure had gotten shot, though it hurt his leg or something, he'd be fine. What I had heard was that because there was an officer down, that the police that were there were waiting for, quote, more militarily heavily armed people to come deal with the situation. So they didn't think that they could take out one shooter with all the fucking tactical equipment that they carry and with all the training they have against this kid who just turned 18, never had or fired a fucking gun before. Right? This guy literally bought the fucking gun like a week before. He's never been shooting, never been a shooter, it's never been his thing. If you watch, there was an interview with his grandpa. I mean, there's so much about this is fucking weird. He lived with his grandparents. There was no clear explanation as to why, but the grandfather was interviewed and said that he didn't really talk to the kid, didn't know him that well. It was just his birthday the other day. The grandmother had taken him out to dinner, but he didn't go with it. Just a lot of other weird shit. But I like I said, I want to stay focused on this thing with the cops. So the reason why none of the cops went in, of course, because they were waiting on this more armed group of people, right? And this is just a fucking lackluster, piss poor excuse. It's a piss poor excuse. I've met plenty of cops that are fucking brave. I've never seen such a group of fucking cops be such fucking pussies in my fucking life. I mean, if I'm standing there and that is my fucking kid in there, my fucking kid, I don't give a fuck about potential harm to me if I go in there with or without a fucking weapon. I don't give a fuck. You can shoot me, you can fucking beat me, You can tase me on the way in, and if everybody else creates enough of a distraction, I'm one of one or two or three people that get fucking through. No amount of pain you can put me through is gonna match the pain of having to lose a fucking child. This shit is fucking ridiculous.